Hello guys, this is Sandeep Patil. I'm an STSM Master Inventor working for IBM Storage Lab. And along with me is my colleague Ramakrishna Vadla, who is one of my senior architect and a senior software engineer. And it's always fun to be at this NIA SDC conference. And today we are here to talk about demystifying AIOps for storage management. So let's get into what it is and what's the agenda today. So we are going to talk about why AIOps, right? We'll understand what is AIOps, but before that, we'll start with why AIOps. Then we are here at SDC, we are all storage developers. We'll want to understand how AIOps relate with storage. Once we understand what AIOps relates with storage, what me as a developer need to understand about AIOps in the context of storage, I'll hand it over to my colleague Ram, who will then get into the architecture approaches of it. That if I want to kind of have an AIOps for storage, what should be the architecture, layout, etc. We'll take you all through some sample use cases so that you can appreciate the actual use cases for storage, AIOps for storage, and then we'll conclude. So then let's start with why AIOps. What has happened in the market that AIOps has become a need today? Right. So I've picked up some data points. Next slide, please. Picked up some data points where I will take you through some important nuggets that we need to appreciate. Right. One, there is a great digital shift that has happened, especially in pandemic, when you see a lot of companies, a lot of enterprises have adopted digitalization, right? And if you really look what digitalization, the amount of 10 years it took for digitalization, it was kind of achieved in 1 year from 2019 to 2020. So the McKinsey report that I picked, about 16% to 34%, a 10 years digitalization that has happened in 1 year. What this means is a lot of companies have gone into IT, a lot of companies have gone into digitalization, including app modernization based on how they are adopting it. The second data point is growing complexity, right? If you take on an average 80% of any enterprise or a corporate that is running their IT shop, they today have about 1,000 applications in their portfolio. So you can just imagine the kind of complexity that an enterprise is dealing with. And then the third data point is attrition and skill gaps, right? There's a data point which said that 4.3 million people quit their job in August 2021, right? Now you would say, how is this relating to AIOps? What this means is that with the shrinkage of a lot of skills that you have in your company, you have to do more with less, right? So how do we do all of that? So these data points are something for us to keep it in a back pocket as we get into our next slide, where we'll talk about what are applications happening. As people have gone into digitalization and modernization, the applications are the new businesses, right? Application are the front face of businesses, especially when your business has become digitalized. And I just wanted to show what is an impact of a 1 second delay. A simple impact of a 1 second delay of an application latency of 1 second would result into 7% customer conversion decrease. And then it would result to about 16% decrease in customer satisfaction. What it shows is how important it is for our applications to have least amount of downtime, how important it is to have very high performance, very less mean time to recover. And then shifts in application demand leads to poor performance, cost overruns, etc. This is another data point I wanted to see. Then what this is coming to is looking at all these data points, complexity has stretched the ability for our IT ops guys who are day in, day out trying to keep all these applications with zero downtime up and running. It has actually stretched our IT ops guys, right? They have to understand the data of these 1,000 applications that are running. They need to respond quickly across the environment. It's become a nightmare task. Are there existing tools? Yes, but these existing tools and processes are not sufficient to solve that problem, solve that nightmare. And there's a requirement of having a paradigm shift. And this paradigm shift is the emergence of AIOps. So what is emergence of AIOps? What does it mean at a high level? It means that we should be able to make proactive resolutions, right? The problem determination, remediation, and avoidance should be really quick, really fast. Surely we should have faster decision making, be it to do with operation, be it to do with planning, be it to do with optimization. We need to have better resource optimization, a continuous automated resource allocation and optimization that is happening to ensure that all your SLAs and SLOs are being met. And that is what is AIOps targeting. So with this background, I would get into the next slide where we will talk about what is the analyst view say. Right now, before we get into, as a lot of us know, right, AIOps was kind of coined by Gartner, right? But for me as a developer, I want to understand what are the top leading analysts talking about AIOps, which will help me normalize the definition for me as a developer to go back and start developing. So let's pick up what Gartner says, right? Gartner says AIOps platforms enable decision making across all the phases, right? That's the design, deploy, execute, and operate, by automating contextualization of large varied volumes of operational data, right? Which is the telemetry data that's going to come from your entire stack of your application. So that's the Gartner definition. Let's look at what IDC says. IDC says AIOps refers to the applications of machine learning, artificial intelligence, as well as big data and analytics, and leveraging that in an intelligent and highly automated manner to solve the gory problem or challenge of managing the modern infrastructure. So all are very related in different kind of grammars, right? Let's see what Forrester says. Forrester says a practice that combines human and technological applications of AI, machine learning, advanced analytics, and operational practices to businesses and operation data. So this kind of gives us a good view of what analysts define as AIOps. And when you look at the beneficiaries of the persona, right, the way the analysts are looking at, it says that the corporate leaders should use AIOps platform to analyze and share application lifecycle insights, making digital business observable. That's the definition from Forrester. And how does Gartner put? Gartner says that AIOps is to gain operational insights, enhance human judgment with AI enriched actionable information, and enable positive outcomes. So now what has happened is we have understood how the analysts look at AIOps. We've understood what the kind of personas they are targeting. It's not only the AIOps persona, the persona includes the decision makers as well. Now let's translate and first understand what are the benefits that are expected from AIOps, right? We are kind of demystifying AIOps, so let's understand everyone's view. So what's the benefit expected when we are going to implement AIOps? One is improve operational efficiency, which means faster detection and automated response to alerts, notification, and support tickets, right? Deeper visibility into state of systems and a single source of analytic truth. Inter-team collaboration. Can we enhance inter-team collaboration? Second, the obvious one, which we talked about, is reduce the downtime, reduce the mean time to recover, detect and react to emergency issues, right? But prevent them to turn into expensing and damaging failures. The third one is manage complexity. As I talked about the data points, complexity has become the norm in the new IT deployments. And how do we manage this complexity? Surely eliminate the manual processes, but we'll have to introduce automations of key tasks such as error detection, alert analysis. We need to streamline the patch management, the configuration management. Right? We need to detect the deviation that happens on the systems. Ram will cover you a use case of how deviations can be detected. We need to optimize the IT spends. End of the day, we need to benefit. The AIOps should be able to tell you all about resource planning proactively, what kind of plan you need to do for your next quarter or for your next financial year. And finally, focus on innovation. All this operation, if you're able to reduce the AIOps time, the company's time on doing operations, it will give the industry, it will give that particular team ability to do more strategic things, a higher value project or higher value innovations. So these are the AIOps expectations and benefits. Now let's move ahead and try and understand how this now relates to storage. We have understood the data points, we have understood the analyst view, we understood the benefits. How does it relate to storage? We are storage guys, right? So does it apply to storage? Does AIOps apply to storage is what question I as a storage developer asked to myself. So fact one is storage is a foundational building block of any enterprise, right? Application performance, application high availability, application data security, everything relies on storage. Fact two, effective and efficient storage management is a key KPI for IT operations. If you go and ask any IT operation guy, what he'll say is, I need to make sure my storage is up and running. It is meeting the SLAs, it's meeting the IOPS, it's meeting the required throughputs, right? So it is a very important KPI for an IT operation. If a storage does not perform well, that latency of 1 millisecond can become substantially large, and it directly results into what I showed you in the data point, right? It results in losing your customers and customer satisfaction index. And fact three is that there are various deployment models that are coming today. You use distributed storages, both in file, object, cloud, hybrid cloud deployments. What it's leading to is we in storage need to design next generation management platform for IT ops and support and planning. So this leads to AIOps for storage is not only applicable, but much needed for the storage ecosystem. So now that we have understood why it is important for storage ecosystem, you're going to ask, okay, but I'm a storage developer. What does it translate me to, Sandeep? Can you tell me what me as a developer needs to start thinking? Right. So I've listed few of the things that we need to kind of as a developer appreciate, right? Can we design a storage functionality that will enable proactive support? Can we reduce the mean time to recover for any application by making sure that the mean time to recover from storage is less? Can we enable automated remediation of storage problems? If there is a storage problem, can it be all automated? I'm just picking few in the interest of time. Can we improve performance and availability of application via automated balancing across our storage arrays? I have a fleet of storage arrays. Can I move applications? Can I move my applications along with volumes such that I'm meeting the SLA of the entire business? Can we help with workload simulation and placement? Right? I'm deploying a new workload. I want to meet a particular SLA. Can I kind of simulate the workload? Can I do the placement? Can we insight on asset management strategies? Can we enable better security and high availability? So these are the list of questions that comes when you as a storage developer kind of asking, how does it translate? So for a storage developer, these are a set of questions that you would want to answer. So now you move from a developer to a storage architect. Okay, Sandeep, we have kind of got what is required at developer. Let's kind of get the requirements at an architecture level, right? So what we did is we have bucketed those requirements into 4 categories. One is AIOps for storage planning and recommendations. Right here, we will involve predictive AIOps for, let's say, capacity management when it comes for your particular storage systems. Like you should be able to visualize future capacity usage growth, capacity trends array. That's one of the use cases Ram will take you all through. Predictive AIOps for performance management. Performance is the key KPI as we discussed. Workload specific resource recommendation. Can you say which is a particular workload that is best for an SAP HANA or an Epic, etc. So that becomes a category 1 of storage planning and recommendation. Category 2 is about storage optimization, like automatic capacity and performance balancing between systems. Category 3 is about AIOps and storage problem determination and remediation advice. And for example, can you detect a particular storage is moving away from our best practices? Again, Ram will take you all into details of one of the use cases in this. And the third one is about enhanced security via storage. Can you enhance the security? Can you detect anomalies in terms of security? Can you detect vulnerability detection through the AIOps telemetry? So this becomes the category of requirements. Now that we have the requirements at the architecture level, I'll hand it over to Ram, who will take through the architecture approach and the use cases. Over to you, Ram.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. Let's look at the architecture approach to handle the AIOps for storage, right? So So AIOPS for storage, create proactive storage management across the storage estate, right? So let's look at what are the key elements we need for AIOPS for storage, right? So one is certainly we need a platform, storage AIOPS platform, right? That is going to tackle proactive support. Let's say there are some issues coming. There is like millions of telemetry data is flowing into your storage insights management platform. So how do you basically really help the support team to reduce the mean time to recover from the problem? And right, anomaly detection, how do you basically figure it out, the novelties and kind of anomalies coming out of your millions of telemetry data flowing into that? Or workload balancing, let's say one storage area has been overloaded, how do you really figure it out? There is another storage system which is having like enough capacity that can really take a more workload from the overloaded workload. So these are kind of high level use cases that your platform storage AIOPS platform should be supporting, right? And the policy violation and then data security insights that I'm going to talk in the next chart. And and let's look at the type of data that is required to achieve this AIOPS platform, right? So you need events, alerts, and the metrics, the millions of telemetry data flowing from the device, right? So and the topology and configuration, how your storage has been configured and how it is connected to the fabric and then from to the server. So if I have end-to-end view of my SAN infrastructure, so that would really give me to troubleshoot the problem. Even though the problem you look at in the storage level, but it could be a problem in a switch, or it could be a problem in your server, right? So when you have end-to-end view of your storage area network, then you'll be able to troubleshoot the problem. And the policy violations, right? It can be like health policy violations, it can be like security policy violations, or it can be any kind of violation that kind of data should be flowing into your platform. So that would really help you to determine the problem. So what it really means to in terms of automation, right? So basically your platform should be able to detect the problem, right, across all your data, coming from all different devices, right? And once you detect the problem, you should be able to decide, right? So you should be able to justify the problem. Is it really, how do you justify, right? So you have got a problem, you detected the problem, you should justify with certain set of the kind of logs, right? So yeah, okay, I have got the problem, this is the log, this is the telemetry, so you should be able to match that. So once you basically justify your problem and decide the problem, then you should be able to act on it. What is the resolution that I should give to my customer so that they can go and fix the problem, right? So this is a cycle, like you detect, decide, act, and then finally automate it, right? So again, this you feed this into your platform, so that will really your platform will keep on maturing and then give you the more and more insight, right? And then this is all like your ecosystem integration has to be done with a lot of other available AIOPS services like Instana, right? App Dynamics, Service Now, and so on. And let's look at what is my architecture approach to deploy my AIOPS workloads, right? So storage has got a lot of millions of telemetry data coming in, right? So storage as well as fabric as well as servers, right? So if you look at the storage telemetry data, there are various sets of data that we need to make sure our AIOPS works to optimum, right? So events, metric, topology, config, tickets, defects, and so on. So now you collect the data. The next step is you have to process. Your platform should be able to process the data, right? You have like millions of telemetry data. How do I know like a set of metrics how really is causing the problem, right? That is basically you have to process it. Then you have to correlate those metrics. So maybe out of, let's say, how like under metrics, I've got only like, it is like maybe 20 metrics are showing the different deviation. Maybe I have to correlate those metrics, right? Maybe, for example, out of those 20 metrics, I should be able to basically analyze. Maybe front end software is causing the problem and the backend storage is causing the problem. Then I should be able to correlate the problem, and then I will be able to basically analyze and detect it, and I should be able to figure it out which part of the storage system is causing the problem, right? And once you have this, so you got that data, you process the data, now you detect the problem, then you should be able to notify the customer, right? You should be able to notify the customers through a kind of AI based chart ups. Those those could have been already been integrated with the ticketing system. Let's say I've got the ticket, I've got a violation, and this is what it is. Then you should be able to notify the customers and administrators saying that this is the problem. So let's look at this pipeline, right? How this my AIOps pipeline is going to work. So I got the telemetry data, and I'm ingesting into data pipeline. If you think this pipeline is going to be your a big data lake kind of thing, then the data will be going to a data pipeline, data lake, and then I have analytics engine deployed on data lake, and I have my ML models or like deep learning models are deployed on data lake, and then it will give you the visualization in terms of, for example, maybe I have Grafana or Kibana kind of dashboard, so that will give you visualize the problems in terms of, okay, this particular problem, this particular matrix is giving the problem, right? And then it will also suggest the action based on the past resolutions if you have in the database, right? Then you keep on automating this process whole. Okay, so now let's look at some of the sample use cases. So we have come up with some of 3 use cases for this discussion. So let me go over the first use case, AIOps for storage, anomaly detection and storage behavior to improve your mean time to recover, right? So let's look at this box over here, right? So this box is basically millions of telemetry data per device per day is coming into your cloud-based, let's say your platform, right? So take any flash system, right? So if you at a minimum, let's say 1 minute or 5 minutes, you may be collecting millions of data, right? So out of that, I should be able to figure it out novelties or anomalies out of those metrics, right? Okay, now you got the novelties and anomalies. Do you think that they are really the problems? It could be like there may be like false positive, right? So how do I know that the novelties or anomalies have got at real problems, right? So then you should be able to correlate with the tickets. Assume that, okay, at the same point in time, I might have got a ticket. Now let me correlate this ticket and the novelties. Okay, now I got the problem reported by the customer. Now I got the ticket. Okay, now yes, there is a problem in the system, and these are the metrics. I should go and quickly look at it. Right, that would really help the support team to come up with the solution pretty quickly than when you don't have this apps, right? So now I got the problem, I got the ticket. Now how do I give the resolution? So let's look at some of the data that has been ingested in the past for similar kind of tickets, and then do some kind of NLP kind based analysis, and then extract the resolution from your ticket database, then associate with this ticket and associate with this anomaly, then give this resolution. Let's say you can rank the resolution based on your approach, then give it to the support team and give it to the administrator or give it to the client saying that, okay, so at this point in time you got the problem, these are the resolutions, you can go ahead and fix it, right? So this will really help the support team and administrator to quickly determine the problem and come up with a solution. So this is where whole AIOps for the storage is going towards, right? So let's look at the second use case. So now as an administrator, as a resource planner, what I am worried about, right? When my capacity is going to run out of space from my data center, right? How much of capacity I need in next 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months to run my workloads. So these are the kind of questions, these are the kind of challenges administrators has got it, right? So as an architect, what I want to do, I want to solve this problem, right? So there are, if you look at the challenge for capacity forecasting, right? So there are like very advanced techniques available in machine learning and deep learning and AI area, right? Which algorithm should I pick up? Which model should I pick up? That's one challenge, right? And the second challenge is the capacity is kind of time series data. It can have multiple characteristics. It can have like cyclic variations, trends, seasonality, and it could be like the variation is like random. There is no pattern at all, right? So as an admin, as a architect, so which characteristics of the data should I really look at it? And maybe trend and seasonality can take it, and maybe I can smoothen my my forecasting so that I will get a better result, right? So this will so these are the challenges to predict or forecast your capacity, right? So if I want to really look at the use cases around storage capacity and forecasting, there are like budget planning for my storage procurement, and also like in terms of storage prediction, it could be like as a enterprise, I want to increase my workload. Let's say I'm a e-commerce company. I want to increase my number of customers. Let's say I have like 10 million customers. To by 24 hours, I want to increase by 20 million customers, right? How much of capacity I need in terms of deploying my workloads? So that's the question. to the customers, right? Then as a architect, how do I solve the problem, right? So this is a challenge. It's really a challenge, right? So basically, you may have to do kind of workload profiling based on your historical data, and then get the scaling. Let's say from last 6 months, last 1 year, what is my scale? What is my ratio that has been increased when you look at your workload increase versus your capacity increase? Then apply that reference into your future workloads. That might give you that might give you a real value, right? So, and then, okay, now I can do that. But if you look at storage, you have like maybe hundreds of metrics. Which metrics should I choose to come up with a proper storage forecasting, right? Maybe IOPS or capacity. So those things you should really profile it based on your workload. It could be like SAP HANA, it could be like Epic. So any kind of workloads, you basically have to work, profile it and then come up with which key metrics or key APIs are really relevant for your capacity forecasting, right? And let's look at the third use case, which is basically detecting deviations of a storage system for policies, right? So your AIOPS system should be able to give you or visualize your security posture of a fleet of storage system, and it detects deviations from security policies, right? So when I say this, right, for example, storage system should follow the NIST standards, right? Security NIST standard. How do I know that my storage systems are really deviating from any of these security standards? How do I know that it is deviating from some of the best practices, right? Let's say, how do I know that what are the best performance tooling? Let's say for this particular storage system and this particular fabric, this particular host, so these are the best performance it can. How do I really, tune that, right? So those kind of the data which is really which is really coming from your storage insight platform, right? So the data. And once you have the AIOps service which is deployed in Storage Insight platform. So if you look at the trend, right, most of the storage vendors are really giving the cloud-based platform, right, including IBM and other storage vendors, right? It's norm, right? All your storage is going to be managed from the cloud, so customer doesn't really need to worry about how really I have to deploy my management tool to manage my storage system. That is a norm. So you can see that IBM, you can see that Storage Insight platform really give you the AIOps service, and you need a big data deployed in the cloud. And the only thing that is coming from storage system is the telemetry data. Now you give the telemetry data to the cloud will give all the analysis and all the recommendation. I'll give it to your storage dashboard into your data center. Then you can look at it, and then you can also basically integrate with SI SIE management console tools like such a QRadar or Splunk. Then it will really give you the security insights about your storage system, right? So with this, I will hand over back to Sandeep just to conclude on the talk. Thanks, Sandeep.
Hey, thanks, Ram. Right. So Ram did explain you all how the architecture should be, right? He touched upon the different phases of the architecture that one has to kind of implement. He also took through the use cases that we can kind of relate as a storage developer, and how AIOps can play a role there, which eventually is going to benefit the personas of an operation guy as well as the key stakeholders. So what is our takeaway from this one, right? With the growing IT complexity, AIOps has become the need of the hour. We have realized it, we saw it through some of the data points that we covered. And we all know that AIOps for storage is very relevant, and it is independent of the storage we are talking about, with block, file, object, right? And it is expected to help our IT operation guys predominantly by increasing the operational efficiency, reducing downtimes, reducing the MTTR, kind of having anomaly detection, having enhanced storage planning, right? So this should help our IT ops guys as well as the decision makers. AIOps for storage is not sitting in silo, right? It has to complement and integrate with the AIOps platform and framework that Ram talked about when he talked about the ecosystem integration. So integration with the likes of Turbonomics, Instana, App Dynamics, Watson for AIOps, etc. Because these platforms have an end-to-end visibility. They have the visibility from the application stack to the storage, including the network, server, whatever lies in between, right? So we are going to complement that overall story. And finally, AIOps for storage platforms are systems that either leverage analytics, this is a very important point I wanted to make, and or AI or machine learning. So it does not have to be that you have to use machine learning or AI ops for this. It can use basic analytics, statistical models, as well as machine learning to enhance the final goal of enhancing the IT operation processes and the task that the IT ops has to do. So with this, hopefully we were able to convey you and demystify what AI ops is for storage. Thank you. And for any questions, we are on the chat.